You know, you cannot be the best at everything. When it comes to movements, we've worked with persons that we felt were experts in certain categories, and we worked with the team of Van der Klo, Dutch specialists of astronomical watches.
I wish more of the big brands would talk about their links for the independents.
We want to reach out to the best possible watchmakers that can be internal, that can be independent.
Some do. Van Cleef and Arpels, we talked about it.
It's just about transparency. I mean, you know, we've been working with them, we're very open. I don't believe you lose any legitimacy by being transparent about the way you work.
If the client doesn't say anything because he doesn't want it to be communicated, then so be it. Because of the different project names, even my fellow employees do not necessarily know who the customer is.
There is sympathy. There are even collaborations. They help us. C'est magnifique.
It is really great. Even if it's been complicated for George Daniels and Omega to speak together, in the end, there was a relationship which was recognized by a worldwide audience.
When we develop something, and it shouldn't be made public, we normally choose a comic or a fictional character's name.
Sometimes they want something new. Maybe they will need 2 or 3 years to develop. And here they find it as Van der Klo. They find it already, and within 1 year they can bring a new model.
You can always learn from an artist. And an artist can always get help from a giant. And that is how it should work. But it should never be a competition.
The status of being independent and humane is very important to me. But there's no formula for that. The formula is to work together as a group, at the same time maintaining one's individuality. A group of independents might be difficult to work with, but it's also very enriching.
Mais ça peut être aussi très enrichissant.
Confucius said, only dead fish swims in the direction and in the speed of the current. Being independent means you're not a dead fish. You go right or left of the current, or you go back against the current, or you swim with the current, but then you swim much faster than the current. So I think independency is a mental freedom.
As I'm not actually from this world, never visited a watchmaking school, I have my own liberties. I remain faithful to these and thus swim against the current.
Horology and the materials which one uses in order to build horology are the prime instruments which connect people to each other. For me, the most important element of independence is to have this human connection.
Independence is practically like a religion. It is something you have when you are young and that you keep as you grow up. It's wanting to go your own path in life without being subjected to authority.
The independents have a certain turbulent genius, an attribute necessary to launch something.
I think it's absolutely necessary that the independents continue to exist, as we are in a world where they have less and less space.
They've gambled with their lives, in some cases, with years and years and years of their lives to make a watch. They're rebels because they didn't just go to work at a big brand where you'd have a very cushy existence.
I'm sure it exists, these people. You have some young one with guts. I'm sure you have, but I didn't find them yet.
What they do is stronger than what's rational. They just say, I'll do it. Of course, there are always critics who doubt. But then, what's even better, there are those who say, you're right, it's amazing. Wow.
They do what they want, they can explore any number of styles, and they are not in any way restricted by the marketplace. They don't have to worry about a marketing department.
Watchmakers are all the same, working in their own little world. We're a bit autistic, closed onto ourselves. I don't consider myself a watchmaker. I'm a free man, philosopher who seeks the truth. And I believe I found it.
They tend to be happy people. They tend to be content. And I think that's because they work with their hands, they do something they love, and they're always solving problems. Watchmakers always have some sort of difficulty pop up, and they always have to think of a way to overcome it.
The joy to give birth to something and to get it going, realizing, wow, it works the way I thought it would. This is my life. Constructing, combining, considering, implementing, that's what I want to do from morning until night.
Bei uns ist es auch so, dass wir
Occasionally, we run into opposition out there.
dass es da Widerstände gibt. Das ist ja gerade die Herausforderung, diese Hürden.
This is precisely the challenge, taking hurdles and leaving them behind.
Das Beispiel ist auch mit der ganz
A good example is the very big complication of the Louis-Élisée Piguet.
Der Kunde kam nicht zu mir und
The
sagte,
customer did not ask me to make the most complicated watch. I only noticed afterwards that it
dass
was.
eine Uhr alles miteinander hat. Das war
The real challenge was that a watch can do everything together. I then figured out that the watch has 1,116 components, but whatever the people think, whether or not it's the most complicated watch is not my expertise.
Kompliziertes ist, das liegt nicht in meiner Kompetenz.
They bring new ideas, they bring visions, they bring sometimes disruption. We need to be disruptive. And they are building a kind of tissue. And I wish there would be 10 times more of these artists. And they are building a tissue on which some big brand can build then their future.
Es kommt eine Idee.
An idea arises, you transfer it, and that's it.
Kommen die Leute und sagen,
And then
das
people
hat
come and say, now you've invented
Ich sehe
something.
es für mich anders.
I myself see it differently.
Es kommt mir eine
I
Idee,
come up with an idea, for instance, from some combination.
Kombination.
When I completed the Golden Bridge, I sensed a new era evolving. The watch was an immediate success. Right from the beginning, it was really something special.
End of the 60s, I made something really silly. I put a clock into a bottle. The bottle clock opened me the door to Patek Philippe, because they saw a watchmaker like this, they could be useful for them.
You can spend years at the workbench making a watch, and then how do you know it's even going to work? How do you know anyone's going to want it?
Once you do the exercise and improve upon it, then you begin to understand the system and how it works. It's something extremely subtle. With the interest that I developed at a certain level, I start building a new watch. With every watch, I gain more experience.
You can't mess around. You have to know what you are doing. You have a responsibility. And the feeling, it's I can't describe, but it's very strong.
It's a community of passionate people. There is an emotion to horology. It's the motor. They want to do it well. They want to do it better and their way, while maintaining the same pre-existing code of the tradition.
Wenn man eine Uhr macht, finde ich jetzt oder heute,
Today, when you make a watch, it must sustain the history of watchmaking in itself. The object should be an expression of the thoughts, what it could stand for today. This must contain.
dessen, oder? Sollte aber die Gedanken, was es heute bedeuten könnte, sollte das mit drin haben.
Some say, we're making a complicated watch. What complications can we take? Throw them all in. For a long time, this has been the philosophy. Complicated watches, yes, there are perpetual calendars, minute repetitions, etc., etc. We'll chuck everything in there and make it square and then sell it. This is kind of a copy and paste technique. Let's take a technology that's around and put it in there. For me, it's more important to get a new idea and turn this into reality with classical mechanics.
The tradition that doesn't go to the future is just a museum tradition. A tradition must stay alive.
If you want to blaze your own trail, you have to know what went on before. Otherwise, you're just going to repeat it. So there's very, very close relationship between the independent watchmakers we see today and the great watchmakers of the past.
Why this obsession? My conclusion is that, consequently, it's because we are nostalgic.
A mechanical watch is eternity in a box.
In the 1970s, something occurred in the watch industry called the quartz revolution.
The quartz is a fantastic, incredible, genius invention of technology.
The quartz watch, which is inexpensive, extremely accurate, began to be produced by the millions in Japan.
They were all going to quartz. Patek was going to quartz, all, because they all believe that the future is technology.
Everybody said the mechanical watch is out, finished, dead. Nobody want any more a mechanical watch. It was a period which was not easy.
There was no more horology. Bear in mind that mechanical watchmaking was almost extinct. Therefore, in 1984, we founded the Academy.
Vincent also, we had a good contact to collectors. Customers came, collectors came. We want a mechanical watch. Concours, tic-tac, tic-tac. They did not want to have the quartz watches. And so we started with the idea of the Academy.
Independent artisans, the likes of members of the AHCI, are few and far between.
The idea interested me because it corresponds to my philosophy of humanity. We're all individuals, but in a group, we're also something interesting.
We are watchmakers and we do watches. We are not businessmen, just making watches. Together we are stronger, and it's rather like a frame which supports us.
It's really not so much about the technical prowess one may have, the ability to assemble a timepiece. It really has to do with a different vision that one has for how they want to lead their lives. It's a very, very difficult path to follow. It's easier to be in a great big machine than to stand alone. And what these gentlemen do is they have, different dreams.
I'm not sure if I would have developed the deep space if I hadn't been a member of the Academy. In my sleep, my dreams are more clear than when I'm in my real workspace. The deep space was a part of my dreams.
Well, I still think we're going to talk about the motivation behind the Academy, its genesis and what keeps it going. I think it's still to provide space in the marketplace for a certain type of watchmaker.
It's a window, a door into the independence world of horology. It is quite particular. Here you discover other mindsets, new ways of working, different motivations. It lends itself a space by which we can change, explore our differences and our common ground.
It's a platform we've been supporting for the past 2 decades now, starting with Philippe Dufour, who was perhaps back 20 years ago one of the leading proponents of the independent watchmakers.
I still work with Hourglass in Singapore, yes.
The idea of the Academy is from the old Romans, because they could do an assembly where they wanted in Europe to discuss how to do the wars. One morning we received a letter from George Daniels, handwritten letter. I want to join your group. So now we are on the right way. And
technology can be part of a certain future, but the real future is art, art is eternal. The quartz watch will have obsolescence, and the mechanical watch will have eternity.
Sur la génération des 15 dernières années qui viennent de s'écouler,
Over the years, we have seen inventions in terms of style, technique, and renovation, and thus, we are witnessing a horological revolution.
on est peut-être à l'aube d'une révolution horlogère.
There's been a moment of consciousness for this loss. We decided to revive the craftsmanship to make it long-lasting. This process has evolved gradually and made progress, which is very good.
Some people using a watch as accessories, you know, and somebody they are using for a time. I think this is a piece of art, you know.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé dans les
What happened in the early 2000s with watchmaking? It's a bit like the 70s, when we had Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, and everyone knew there was magic. What happened? Are the watchmakers of today drugged as well? In any case, the market responded favorably. And again, there's an amazing moment of magic. The actual time that it takes to create something new is more valuable to me than what I have produced in this time.
It all kicked off as a kind of art project. Back then, I would never have thought that it could turn into such an international business. We simply had the idea to make a special watch, something contemporary, something which reflects what is actually happening right now. It was like a dream.
Or it is a new technology in the watches, you know. Today it is not the old system.
We're nowhere near inventing everything. I get really annoyed when people say that. It's like, what, you think the human imagination has a limit on it? No. Go back to bed, go to sleep, wake up when you become a human being.
For me, the time is not the issue. So in my workshop, I don't push to make more. I don't push to make faster. I push to make better.
One of the things the independents have done with the watch industry, if they showed everyone else, there are no limits.
I have my own character, and I put the step very, very, very high. It's why my products are recognized, and you have to be there, not here. You cannot, because you are gone. You know.
One could argue that, the quartz crisis was important to perturbate the whole Swiss watch industry into recognizing that they're not just selling an instrument anymore. They're selling objects of prestige. They're imparting artistic and technical know-how.
None of my watches are automatic because people, they rediscover the fact to wind a watch. You have to feed your watch. If you don't feed it, it will stop, And they lost this with automatic watches and especially quartz watches. They like to hear the tick, tick, tick when you want it,
We're all in love with this little thing that goes tick-tock. It has a soul, it has a heart.
For a long time, people were only focusing on the exterior of a watch. But the most important part of the watch, the heart of the watch, is the inside, the mechanics. Fortunately, one has had the thought of going back to traditional watchmaking by saying, we'll pull this through. At the same time, high watchmaking remained somewhat backward, which we considered totally unnecessary. Just imagine, there comes a 27-year-old nobody like me. Nobody knows him. He presents his work and says, this is the ultimate thing. People thought, if a chap of 27 comes up with this, can it truly be anything special? Anyone could have developed this. It took time to make people understand, also because no one else would have ventured to deal with such topics. There is acceptance for this now, but back then, no way.
My fulfillment is more than just a running watch. It's the finishing and certain special features, for instance, it having another interesting complication. It's not meant merely to display only the time. It's that it expresses more. It's amazing what kind of solutions they come up with. What a wealth of interpretations. Fabulous. And how small. Paul Gabber shows me a screw and I say, "Excuse me, I really only see your hand, even though I can see very well." And he says, "There's the screw." Damn it, your screw, I can't see any screw. For me, it has always been paramount to have the case 100% Swiss-made. First of all, you have to finish your watch.
I don't know if there's one watch that is Swiss.
My watch is 100% Swiss made. 100%.
We have to respect Swiss made, and Swiss made tells us that the movement must be Swiss, 100%, and that 60% of all the components must be Swiss made.
Everything comes in our area. So I'm very proud of that, but that 60%, the value has to come from Switzerland and assembling in Switzerland. For me, it's not enough.
Almost every watchmaker at some point in their life fell in love with things mechanical.
As a boy, I took everything apart. Anything I could put my hands on. At some point with a watch, my father said, "No, this you won't take apart." So I had to start imagining what it must look like inside.
It's complex.
So this way, I basically had to train my imagination for the mechanics.
There's an understanding of the beauty of watchmaking, the sophistication of horological mechanics.
When we take a look at watches that seem very complicated, we believe the technical solution should always be very simple. The hour indicates the minutes for 1 hour, and then the next hour follows. The hours that are not needed at the moment are parked somewhere else and do something else. And then, when they're needed again, they're back in the right place.
It's an education. It's getting people to know that, yeah, you can have your classic flat, round watch with a beautiful movement inside, but you can also read the time in a crazy three-dimensional machine where when you put it on your wrist, you're actually wondering how you're going to read the time on that piece of art.
It takes time to convince colleagues that the hand does not necessarily move to the right. It takes time to show that a hand doesn't have to move at all, while the clock does. This is also an indication of time. I don't care if the hands rotate or the clock. The main thing is, what does it show?
There is this notion that, my God, I can manipulate these little wheels and gears. I can make them with certain tools. And then what grows out of that is the idea that you can express something, your own desires, your own thoughts, your own feelings. You can, in fact, be an artist.
The papillon. It was only later, during the creation and the design process, that this shape developed. When I gave the bridge a certain aesthetic, the butterfly evolved, and thus the name of the watch was born.
There was this new wave of interest in independent watchmaking. A key person behind this dynamic is Vianney Holter. Vianney Holter created the Antiqua. It's a perpetual calendar with multiple time indications. It shed new light as to the possibilities of what contemporary watchmaking can be.
If you spend a lot of money in a watch, buy a mechanical watch.
When I first started with the Academy, I exhibited my work, but the watches proved to be too complicated for walk-in clients. Therefore, it became necessary to reach out to collectors at a different level.
I want to keep it small. I want to remain independent, And I was starting to get scared that now there's too much orders. I started to refuse orders, and I didn't take any retailers. I had only our class in Singapore, and that's it.
Our responsibility is to inspire people to want to own that dream watch of theirs. We have a great network of very passionate collectors here who are also very interested in engaging in this process. There are some people who find security in brands, and there are some who themselves as collectors also have a highly independent spirit.
My watches are not display goods. They are usually tailor-made for the client. Each one of them expresses a wish. It's not only about the watch. The personal contact with me is vital. The buyer wants to get to know the man behind the watch. He wants to see who makes it and who comprehends his desire. Therefore, most of my clients are direct.
It's not only because they want to spend their money buying a watch. Much rather, it's to share the energy of becoming an adventurer, an explorer, and to discover this certain object and to experience the emotion. I enjoy building my own clocks. And then someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I like that. I want this." Usually, that's the right person. We are not talking of inanimate objects. Behind them, there are the people who make them, the fans, the ones who are crazy for them, and the collectors.
It's kind of a philosophical machine that shows us where we stand in our lives. That shows, what is it? It measures something curious.
There's also a great element of experimentation in watchmaking. You have to test out things. You have to know they work. A watchmaker is an artist who is also a scientist. He's also an engineer. He's also an architect. There are a lot of skills go into making up a watchmaker.
Subsequently, we realized that the public at large has little knowledge of watchmaking, and that it would therefore be interesting to provide the key to access this world.
We are planning to do a small school, because it's very difficult now today to find a watchmaker. I think we will face a problem in a couple of years, because now we have old generation, and slowly we are trying to get in a young generation.
For me, the mission is to make watches with which the consumer can experience the time and realize the beauty of the mechanics. He does not only want to see through the front and check what time it is. He is also interested to see inside the watch from the other side.
These people are not looking at mass production. The total production of the independent is probably less than any other watch brand you would pick on the market.
Most independent watchmakers, there are notable exceptions, can't afford spaghetti because they just don't sell enough watches.
Si on veut maîtriser la mécanique,
if you want to work with certain machines, you realize they are very expensive. So you have to sell more watches. And then you need more publicity in order to be more visible in the market, etc., etc.
etc., etc., etc.
Especially with the last model, simplicity. I could take the way, like everybody, call a movement maker and make it for you with your name on it. And you sell, you make fast money, but I would have destroyed what I tried to build. So I say, no, it's not my way.
Many artists don't have the skills to be a manager.
Many small craftsmen succeed in making 2 or 3 watches. I simply can't understand why they never have any money.
They're not doing it necessarily just to make money. They're doing it also to push boundaries. For each new product, the effort is very high. To make breakthroughs takes some time.
You must have reality. Marketing can help you to promote the reality, can help you to design or to make the reality look better.
When you're talking about a great independent watchmaker, you're talking about an artist with a style, not a brand.
We are too different because we have clockmakers, we have watchmakers, and we have different philosophies, and we have so many different cultures.
A brand has nothing to do with a watchmaker. If somebody wants to do a brand, he cannot be watchmaker.
I think that it's end of the day, it would be a big hassle.
He cannot be artist. It's another job.
I don't want to play the game like some brands pushing and buying themselves now. I cannot afford it, and I say the watch is big enough to make his own job.
Because a watchmaker, a genius with his hands, genius with his art, how can he build a brand? It's another game. It's very difficult. I think, number two, it's dangerous.
Les indépendants, ils ont
The independents will always have an audience, more or less strong, as there are millions of people who stand in line for a mainstream brand.
des marques mainstream.
What the big brands do for the independents is actually almost a kind of marketing exercise. Those people who want something different for their second or third or fourth watch may be ready to look at an independent.
The normal people, they will not come to buy one of the independent watches. So most of this, they are more collectors. I have some people, really, they know everything. Maybe sometimes they know more than us.
I think the independents are not controllable. They do their work and say, I have a new project. No idea if it's stupid or genius. Something like that.
Very often the artisan, they make it going right by doing adjustment by hand. When you repair 150 years, who will know which adjustment you made? Nobody.
Le problème réel qu'il y a à l'académie et pourquoi ils n'arrivent pas à vendre.
The real problem with the Academy and why they don't sell as they would like is because the retailer doesn't find the product attractive enough. They are scared that there is no real after-sales.
So the guy who is going to repair it in 2164, he will struggle like crazy.
It's important for the Academy to organize an after-sales which is more solid.
The skills come from their interpretation, from their eyes, their hands, and wow, it works. So it's art.
Because if you have a watch made by, for instance, Vianney Halter, and he doesn't have the time to repair it because he's busy with another job, it very quickly loses credence.
For us, it's very important to have after-sales service. We have around 55 people now working in the workshop. Ultra modern, so the service, this is the complementary for the sales.
That is why we need standards, because if he takes and he takes 1/500th away, the next guy, he will not know that.
When I see clocks that I sold, I often need some time to figure out how they actually work.
There's material that qualifies very well, and there's a metal that is not particularly good. But I wanted it anyway. It's tantalum. To mill a case with this, it takes maybe 3 or 4 times as many tools. They simply crack or go bust. I would have to ask one of our technicians what the exact problem is. In any case, they tell me, don't ever come with such ideas again.
Watchmakers tend to be people who jealously guard what they're working on, but they will always have a few friends within the watchmaking community within the academy that they will speak to about what they're doing. And if something works after 3 or 4 years of experimentation, they'll probably call up a friend who is another watchmaker and say, I've finally done it, you know, eureka. So people are friendly with one another, but they also work in their own little quiet way, not always letting people know what they're doing. The academy itself, all the members are supportive of each other. But basically, there is a brotherhood among watchmakers. It's very difficult to be a watchmaker.
Für mich ist schon eine Unabhängigkeit angestrebt.
I need my independence.
Abhängig bin.
also from the AHCI. However, I think the Academy is a good platform for young watchmakers to start off.
It's important to highlight new talents. When we feature the gifted, it conveys a very interesting message.
I am scared by what is happening to watchmaking. With all the technology, there is a risk that one day there will be no more artisans.
I always work on to adapt. It needs new blood.
Sauf s'il est capable.
So, now it's up to the ones who say, I have an idea. I'm going to add one more chapter to the story of horology. One stone more.
Outside our company, here in Dubai, I'm talking about Dubai, it's very difficult, you know. So they need our support.
We're reaching a level of development and expertise and creativity where sometimes we're selling emotion through a watch that is no longer a watch, which is a piece of art.
Promoting this platform is a project of passion, more than anything else.
Das sind Handarbeiter, Denker, Leute, die
These watchmakers are artisans as well as thinkers.
in erster Linie
Primarily, they wish to establish something.
mit
This drives them to produce independent objects.
unabhängige Sachen machen,
They spare no means
keine Mittel scheuen,
nor effort
kein
while trying to spread this tradition.
vorzudringen und eben diese Tradition ein bisschen auszubreiten und so. Das Lernen muss ewig im
Learning must always remain in the foreground.
Sonst
Otherwise, I have the feeling
bleibe ich stehen.
I stop.
Dann habe ich keine Entwicklung
Then
mehr,
I have no more challenges.
Herausforderung mehr.
Then time stands still.
Dann bleibt die Zeit stehen. Ja.
Horology is not made for one individual only. It's there for the whole of society.
Long live the independent watchmakers.
Just do what you like. Just try to transform your daily job into a passion and try to make your passion give you a living.
If you say to them, you're an artist, they say, no, I'm a watchmaker. It's as if the designation master watchmaker is more important than anything.
It's marvelous what I can do to make watches. I have pleasure when I make watches. And I know I'm going to please somebody. And I'm lucky because all the amount of human relation I made through my watches is just incredible.
The actual process is what is beautiful. It's something priceless. One cannot buy. The pleasure or the privilege, no idea. It's wonderful.
Das ist herrlich.